to get on here and talk about this incoming full lunar eclipse that's happening between the 13th and the 14th. It's in Virgo. The moon's in Virgo. The sun is in Pisces. So Pisces has the North Node right now. So what does that mean? The North Node is the collective destiny, like where the energy is pointing to us, pointing the way toward. And Pisces is the spiritual. So the North Node's pointing at our spiritual, the need to look at our spiritual, the need to go that way, to make everything about that, right? And here comes, and that's where the sun is, right? The sun is the solar energy, the light of our awareness. I'm just going to jump right into this. I hope you guys are doing well. Thanks for coming back to the channel. Pisces, the sun is in Pisces, so it's like God, the presence of God. It's the presence of source, it's intelligence, it's spirit, like lighting everything up right now. And it's like, that's where our attention is meant to be. And then we have the moon, which the moon is our emotional nature, right? But the moon is also that which waxes and wanes, like the changeable stuff in reality, okay? And Virgo is the sixth house. It rules our habits and our routines and our work and our health and the finer details, right, of our life. So here comes like this demanding Virgo energy that, you know, like the sun and the moon, they're counterparts. In Hatha yoga, Ha and Ta means sun and moon. They mean like the balance of the two natures, the sun being masculine, the moon being feminine. That doesn't mean this is necessarily the masculine and feminine eclipsing each other, but there's an element of that, and I'll get into that in a minute. So here comes, you could say, the emotional nature, but also the very like day-to-day details, the components of your life. Here it comes, thinking it's very big and important. Excuse me. I'm just kicking the tripod and belching. Anyway, so the all-important routines, the all-important work, the things that are pressing on us and maybe even like piling up behind us. So this is getting big. We're today, as I'm recording this, we're almost to maximum. The moon is almost full, but not quite. It's reaching into the fullness. It's getting ready to peak. So you could fill into yourself with this impending energy, like what is about to peak for me? Hopefully some good things. But also, what if I almost just can't take anymore? What if I just almost like too full of? What is it that I've been enduring so long? Or what is the energy that's so big that's in my day-to-day that has to do with the details of my life, that might have to do with my health, that might have to do with, remember, Mercury also is a ruler of Virgo, so it could be the mental details, the things, the little things that I just can't get my mind off of in my life, in the details of my life. Where am I just about had enough? Where am I just about full? Because there's an eclipse happening and it's total. So you can think of an eclipse as like the dilation or the shutter opening and closing that would take a full month to open and close. But in this case, just in a few hours, it does the whole thing, right? So in India, in the yogic tradition, an eclipse is a potent time. An eclipse makes all of your spiritually oriented practices multiplied by 1,000 in potency. 1,000. So a traditional, I don't even have any of my malas over here. Oh yeah, right here. So like doing a chant, a traditional 108 bead chant, that would be like one round of a mantra. If you're like om, 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 om. And if you know anything about mantra practice, or you've been hanging out with me very long, the sound, the resonance of the mantra is a practice that purifies and aligns the subtle bodies, can attract things into your life, can repel things, has a certain frequency, right? It's sound therapy. The Om is said to be the original sound of creation, the Omkar. And we spoke about that in, I guess it was an Instagram video the other day. So if you missed that, go check my Instagram out at Bliss in the House. Anyway, so 108 is one round, right? But during an eclipse, 108 is 108,000. Okay, and there's a little secret about mantra chanting, and this could apply to all of your spiritual practices. And remember, Pisces in the North Node is saying, pay attention to the spiritual. Like, put your energy and attention there. There's something about that that's going to reset everything in your mundane world, everything in Virgo, everything in that house. Okay, and you can also look at your Virgo house or what sign is sitting in your 6th house. So there's a secret about mantra chanting, and that is it takes about 24,000 chants roughly to like gain a boon. Okay, so like in this idea of chanting mantra, the number of times that you chant, and this has to do with all your spiritual practice too, is building spiritual energy, is building life force current, it is building and it is storing. Okay, it's storing that kundalini or that life force, that healing energy, that transformative juice, that nectar in you, that God essence. As you're practicing, it's storing, it's building you, it's rebuilding you. It is what sustains a yogi or a spiritual practitioner, is the amount of time and energy and focus and intention put into their spiritual practice, their time sitting, their chanting or whatever. So a boon, think of it like in a video game. If you like go collect a certain number of coins or whatever, and now you have a certain amount of magical powers for a while, like you can do such and such because you got this many coins. It's kind of like that in real life. And a great book that tells a great story about this, I guess it's in The Greatness of Saturn by Robert Svoboda. Caution reading that book, it will give you responsibility. But the story is about the Gayatri mantra and its origination, and the original monk who was chanting it. It's actually a story of a king who becomes like a holy man, a ascended being through the use of mantra, and that mantra helps him fortify and raise his abilities over time, and then he uses them kind of selfishly to try to be better than someone he's learning the lesson of the boons, right? And so then he falls from grace because he used his spiritual power not to fortify himself, not to make himself closer to God, but to put this other guy down or whatever, used his spiritual power in a negative way. So, but it still was usable. Like we sometimes have a power, a strength even. Say you work out and you have muscles, but then you beat up some little guy. It's like using your strength wrongly. So you can gain a boon and it fortifies you and it like puts you ahead on your spiritual progress, you could say, which is a cool thing to do because spiritual progress does pay us, and it doesn't pay us as you think. It maybe wouldn't be a financial payment, though it could be, but it does bless your life. It maybe protects you. It could attract certain opportunities to you that weren't available to you before. Okay, so if you were to chant 108, okay, you would have to chant for quite a while to reach the 24,000 or 22,000 for the first boon, right? You can do the math on that. It would take you a good amount of time. So utilizing the eclipse portals to maximize your potential with your spiritual practice is highly recommended. It can get you through some really hard times. And I wanted to refer back to the sun and the moon, and the sun eclipsing the full moon, the masculine energy eclipsing the feminine energy, where Venus is in retrograde now, right? So the feminine energy is like in a reflective, it is being like overshadowed in a way, but in a way that the feminine is also in a self-reflective renewal, like the energy of finding herself, you could say. The masculine is coming in and participating in that experience, and is shining a light within itself. So I think you can imagine that within the self, we are eclipsing old ways. We are eclipsing old stories about the masculine and feminine, about how our day-to-day should be, how, what's the most important focus. And Virgo is also a purifying energy. So here you have the energy of purity, the virgin, right? Virgo is the virgin. The purity, and this is also kind of like a Jesus moment eclipse, because the virgin and the God consciousness, and God comes in and like, those two come together, and an old reality moves away. So in a way, there's something very like biblical about this eclipse window. And I highly recommend, prayers or fasting or chanting, or, one sun salutation is like doing 1,000 sun salutations. So even just a little bit of practice, and that can go for some of your things, like you like to do push-ups. 10 push-ups is like 10,000 push-ups, if you use it as a spiritual practice, if you bring in the awareness that not only am I strengthening my muscles, but I'm fortifying my being and centering myself. It's that awareness of spiritual practice that makes it that. So we are in this portal of transformation, and it is an opportunity to surrender what you think your life is supposed to look like in favor of what it's supposed to look like. So it's an opportunity to go hands off, let go and let God, to release what's going on in your world and trust. And some spiritual practice doesn't hurt. So it's a really great time to work with the release of the old. And that could include some subconscious mind work or shadow work, or, things like that. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and reach out about that. I am going to, in my next video, do the next rune. So stay tuned for that. And we'll get back to some more relationship alchemy stuff too. But I appreciate you stopping in. Thanks for listening to this message. And remember, utilize this eclipse window. It's not just while the eclipse is happening, but it's a 3-day window. So we're already in the window before and after where you can utilize this energy, all right? So I'm going to go ahead and just end with a mala of oming. So you can stay for this, or you can check out if you want to, but you can tune in. This is the sound of creation. So you can imagine with the om that your life is being created anew. There is a reset going on. There is a Brahma moment. Om, 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 om. Thanks for stopping in. See you next time. I love you. Namaste. Happy eclipse.